about 2015, I was in Austin, Texas with some other activists, and I first heard about this idea of freedom cells. And it was my buddy John Bush back in Austin. He was giving this talk, and at that time he was calling it the Central Texas Mutual Aid Society. And he had just had this idea of saying, like, government's not going to solve our problems, and we shouldn't just sit around and wait for that to happen. And we also shouldn't just give up and be apathetic. What if we started thinking about coming together on like the neighborhood level, on the the community level, and organizing these decentralized groups, mutual aid groups? And he was just developing that idea, and he was talking about coming together in groups of 8 to 10 people. And there's some pretty good research out there about group dynamics and social dynamics, about how keeping groups, you don't want to have only just a couple of people where you can't get anything done, but you don't want to have too many people, then there's too many heads, too many ideas. And so there's some research about this ideal number of 8 to 10 people having local groups like that. And so eventually it started to be called Freedom Cells. And that name came for two reasons. And one way, it's sort of a trolling and of the government and their propaganda about terrorism and terror cells. And so we're like, all right, well, we're going to be freedom cells. We're going to be people promoting freedom and liberty. But also the way we kind of think about it is like each cell or group, people call them hubs, hives, circles, whatever. The goal is, like, let's say you come together in Willis with a group of like-minded people, and I come together with a group of like-minded people in Houston. This is actually where I originally started it. After I learned about it from Houston and Austin, I came back to Houston and I started organizing with people who were really serious about like setting goals, maybe a little bit of prepping, trying to have more privacy-oriented tech, growing food. What the goal is, that you come together as a decentralized group, figure out what is everybody interested, what are our goals, what do we want to try to accomplish, and then work to do that. But let's say you've got a cell or a hub up in Willis, and I've got one in Houston. Maybe once a month, all the sort of local cells come together. We get together for like a social event, but we also say, hey, what are you guys working on? What projects are y'all working on? Let's take some ideas from you. Let's apply it here. And so I was just really inspired in 2016 by this idea, just started doing it in Houston, started putting out videos about how freedom cells could be applied to growing food or self-defense or, all kinds of ideas. And we had an old website, but it wasn't until COVID 1984 came around that this idea really took off. I mean, I'd been promoting it for years and giving speeches and talking about it, encouraging people. And some people got it. I think the website prior to COVID had about 1,500 people on it. And then, once COVID happened, and since then, there's 40,000 plus people around the world now. And especially during COVID, we saw some pockets, like in Australia, where things were really locked down. People really gravitated towards this idea. India was really popular for a while, different pockets in the US. And the website, which is freedomcells.org, and again, that's cells like cells.org. Because what I was going to say a moment ago is, to me, it's also like each group is individual, it's unique, it's powerful on its own. But then the bigger goal is that we start interlocking these groups, and it's not just one group in one part of town, but we come together on the local level and on the regional level. And so the cells are like the cells in our body. Each one of them is unique and powerful. It's doing its own job, but then it's also collectively part of this bigger organism, which is us. And so the idea with the Freedom Cell Network is you could have a cell in India or Africa or Canada or whatever else. But as these groups are building, and in the beginning, they're kind of just social clubs so that people can come together and not feel so alone. And that's really the purpose they served in COVID. But the bigger picture that myself and John believe is going to be necessary, especially as the world gets more tumultuous, is that these groups are going to help form like a parallel structure outside of these mainstream systems. And that's kind of what we're working towards. So the website, the main goal of the website, it's not meant to be like another social network. It's pretty much like, if you're a person listening to this and you're like, that sounds cool, but I don't know anybody in my own community. Well, we have maps on the website, so you can go create a free account. You put what are your interests, what are your skills, what are your goals, fill out the profile. And we don't want your home address, but just put, like, say Willis, and that pins you on the map. And then what you can do is you can search the individual maps and the member and the group maps, and it'll show you. You can say, show me all the groups within 50 miles of me, and it'll show you every group that exists. You can check them out. Oh, look, they're having a meetup in a couple of weeks. Let me go meet with those people, connect with like-minded people in your area, leave the website behind. That was kind of the original goal. So some people are active on Freedom Cells on the Telegram app. Some people are active on our website. But it was really cool as I was traveling around giving talks during COVID. People were telling me, like, when they were totally locked down and they had, they were freaking out, they used the Freedom Cells website and the maps to find other people, to have these like underground, quote unquote illegal meetups so that they could some people use the website to meet other people, and they bought land together. Some of them started growing food together. Some of them started homeschooling their kids. And,
Wow.
I will say, unfortunately, as things have calmed down since COVID, there's less like energy in it. And it just seems like that's kind of unfortunately the way humanity works often, is like people get, when shit's rough, people are like, oh my God, I need solutions. I need to find community. And then things calm down. They're like, oh, whatever. I don't need to worry about that. But the website's still there. The idea is still there. And I continue to promote it in my works.